Welcome to the Partytrick podcast, where we inspire and empower you to elevate every day.
Hey guys, I look forward to having you join me today as I interview Jenna Wren. Jenna Wren is a photographer I've had the pleasure of knowing the last handful of years. We've worked together on weddings as well as some personal events. She is a mom of three, an amazing hostess, and get ready for a really fun conversation. We talk about party tricks, we talk about hacks, things that spark joy, why we love connection, little ways to celebrate the everyday. And I think you're going to enjoy it. So get ready. Hello, Jenna. How are you?
I'm good. How are you, Virginia? Thanks for having
I'm,
me.
of course, I'm so excited to see you and chat with you today. I feel like it's been way too long outside of our Instagram DMs. It's like time to actually face to face it.
100%.
I'm so thrilled. We've already shared a little bit about you with our audience, but I would love for you to share more about your journey, your history, how you got into events, why photography.
I always feel like we have this in our head rehearsed, and then it's actually, what am I going to say? I've just, as cheesy as it sounds, I've always been the kid who grew up with such a love for the arts and such a love for lighting and photography. And I would, every single family vacation we went on, I had a camera in my hand. I was always the one capturing the moments and stuff like that. And so I think it was always there in the back of my mind. But honestly, Virginia, I was so terrified to pursue a career in the arts because I grew up hearing, so many of us did, you can't have a successful career doing this. You need something practical. You need to pursue something that's going to be tangible. And so I listened to that and I listened to that fear. And so when I went into college, and I also grew up dancing. So dancing and the arts are a huge part of who I am.
Love it.
And you see the world through those things, right? Your experiences. But I just completely shut that part of me down and was nope, I gotta be practical. I need to have money, income coming out of college, and I'm here for a reason. This has got to work. And so I forced myself into this mold that so many of us do. And I went into English education, which I also love to write. And so it kind of made sense. And I was I can make an impact. I can shape the younger generation. I can write and fall back in love with the artistic side of English. And I did that for 4 years and was also shooting weddings, doing portraits on the side. And what's so hard when you're in a career like that, there's so much pressure on you and there's so many expectations and you do not have the creative freedom that you want and you're longing for. And you're putting in so many hours and then you're there's really no dividend here. Of
Yeah.
course I loved teaching. I loved my students. I had amazing connections. I'm actually photographing some of their weddings this summer.
How
And yeah,
cool.
very cool. But I was so terrified to listen to myself and listen to my soul. And then we had our first kid and I'm I can't do this. This isn't sustainable. The practicality is it's not, I can't even afford to put my kid in childcare and continue to teach. So while I was doing the teaching and the baby, I'm also doing weddings and shooting portraits and falling more in love with that. And at some point there was just this light in my head, I've got to pursue this. I've got to see what is there. And so I quit my job in 2014. And this is going into my 13th year this year of shooting weddings and things. And I just kind of never looked back. I was not burn the boats, but a little bit. I'm not going to give myself an out here. I have to make this work. And I had absolutely no business background at all, zero. And so I have had to scrap and piecemeal all of it, learn and try and fail. But there's something that just wakes me up every morning with just this passion. And I think that's when right? You're doing what you're supposed to do because I'm so excited. And as much as I loved my students and things like that, it was so hard to get up in the morning and go teach and do those things. And when I left, it gave me the creative flexibility and income to support my kid and my husband and I, and then also pursue something I loved and fill that place in me. So that's how I got started. And I think I love parties. I love celebration. I love romance. And I've been married for 15 years as of last
I
week.
saw
And
a
I think,
happy anniversary. I saw that you just
thank
celebrated.
you. I feel like I shouldn't be old enough to have been married 15 years, but I definitely am. I'm oh wait, I'm not 20 anymore. So I think it is this culmination of being this person who like was passionate about the arts and wanted to leave the world a better place, and also just insanely in love with like celebration and couples and love and all of that. So long story short, that's I am here today.
Oh, I love that. I mean, as most people know, my background is in special events and weddings and love. And I love those memories. I love the energy when everyone comes together to celebrate something. And whether for me, that was organizing it, for you, capturing and preserving
Yeah.
those memories, I think, and I don't know, tell me if I'm wrong here, but photos are what you have at the end of it. Your memories, like, they imprint, they stay stronger with your photos, but that's what you have at the end of the day. Like, no one remembers what shirt they bought last summer, but they remember the memories and they remember the experiences they had. And I think I would always tell my clients before, invest in amazing photography and take
Yeah.
the photos, even if you feel like fat, if you feel ugly, if you feel any of those things, you don't think it's Pinterest perfect, take those pictures because you will have the memory in your head and it does fade. And so having an amazing photographer, whether like you can have someone come along or you just take it on your iPhone, I feel like it's so valuable. I mean, I'm sure you agree because obviously it's why you went into this as well. But yeah.
No,
No.
you're so right, and I think that that's a huge piece of it for me is, like, when we had our baby, like, I started becoming even more, like, deep into the meaning of a photo and the meaning because 'cause they're only newborns for so long, and they're
Oh, I
so
know.
I mean, we both have 3, you have 2, like, they just grow up so fast, it feels like every day you look at them and you're like, "You look so different today." Like, "I look the same, I'm aging, but you look great."
Yeah.
Working. And yet there is something like I mean, I'm getting goosebumps even now. Like, just there's something so incredible about being able to be that close to love and capturing it. It's so sacred to me, Virginia. Like, it's fun, it's wonderful, but you're so right. Like, I really encourage my couples, like, let's just take that photo. Who are the important people at your wedding? I want to know what they look like so that we're looking for those people because you just never know, like, what could happen in a year. And it's to me, it's very sacred being a photographer and being able to capture those memories for our couples. And you're right, they do that imprints. And then you get to share that with your friends and your loved ones and your future kids. And it's really special. It's cool. I love being an event.
I think again, having an event, having that moment to celebrate with your loved ones or the ones that you don't love, but like actually is an opportunity to build connection and it's to build that love. Some of the most important things, obviously, is why we've gone into creating this business and why I was in why I was in Bluebird before that. And I think about specifically with photography, I look at a lot of photos with my children. My mom made these insane albums and they like I was just with her. We're recording in April right now, and I was just with her for Easter. And my mom was showing my daughter a photograph of an Easter when I was my daughter's age. So my daughter's now 6.
Hmm.
And for me, that immediately started bringing back memories of how we celebrated as a family. And again, whether you're snapping pics and actually like looking at them, like look at them, but print them out. I just unboxed a ton because I'm like, I have some of my stuff. I'm moving. I'm in this crazy transition always. And my kids are like, "Oh, what was that?" And it's the stories that you're able to share, the community, the connection, passing stories along. My most favorite memories are stories and in times shared. And I think photos ate that so, so much. So I love that you are like creating this for others, creating the ability for them to do that and being there for some of their most pivotal moments. I think it's such an amazing gift. And I love that you've been able to build a career out of it and do something that you're passionate about, both in the arts as well as the celebrations. It's phenomenal. It's got to feel real great.
It does. Yeah. Thank you, Virginia. It was really sweet. And I am very passionate about those things. And then having to also bring that back into my own life and saying, okay, I have to remember to like hire a good photographer or someone that I can trust to capture those memories and being in the camera with my kids and just remembering like I'm making memories for other people and to make my own too. And it's a good balance, but I do love what I do. And I'm so grateful to be in an industry where love and celebration are at the heart of it. It's just so cool.
So do you find in your personal life, because I did, and I think you kind of like teed this up in a way that resonated for me. I found that like when I was planning all these parties for others or going to events over and over, I actually wasn't doing as much for myself, right? In terms of like making those experiences for my family and for myself. And it was the cobbler whose kids have no shoes until things started shifting the last few years. And in part, my kids are like so excited about their parties. When they were 2, they weren't really, obviously. And I mean, Jenna, you were here for my daughter's 6th birthday last year, and it was so amazing. I have her girlfriend still talking about this. This was like 7 months ago at this point. I mean, we look at the photos of it all the time, but I wasn't doing enough to celebrate the everyday or even celebrate those milestones in my life. What do you do like in your family? And are you celebrating the everyday? Are you celebrating the milestones? How do you make this a priority?
I love that question. So during the great pause of 2020, I feel like we all did that like deep self reflection. We had to, like, it was us in the mirror, right? And so I know for us, Steve and I, at the time we were living in Colorado. And because my kids were so young, I'd really focused my career on the location. Like, I want to be in Colorado. I want to shoot here. I want to be able to come home to them at the end of the night. But we were shooting so much and it was during the summer. And it's so hard when you're like, okay, they're going like growing up so fast and weddings are so amazing. I love every part of it. Like it's just, it fills my cup. But then you go home the next day and you're like, whew, I need like a week off
Well,
to
it's a wedding
breathe.
hangover. It's hardcore. Yeah.
Exactly, 100%. And so one of the biggest things that we actually did, which is a big thing, was move from Colorado to Austin, Texas, because one, we love the cold and love the snow, but it was like 10 months of that. And so now having more like summer year round, and then our wedding seasons in Texas are opposite of Colorado. So it's been this nice blend and really saying, okay, we're done with the like 20 weddings a year. We're going to do like 8 to 12. 8 to 10 is actually like sweet spot.
Yeah.
And then on the little things, it is like, okay, having to do some self-reflection and owning we didn't celebrate these moments, these milestones like we could have because we were tired. And part of that was young kids and things like that. But now I don't want another day to go by without having that connection with my kids. And so we are really intentional now about celebrating the little things or the big things. Like my kids come home from school and they've done a really cool painting and making it special and not, over the top where they just have this inflated ego, but really making them feel seen and know that their hard work, their diligence paid off into something beautiful and we get to celebrate that. And I think celebration also comes with connection. Like it's one
Completely.
thing if I'm just like, "Oh, that's great, Sawyer. I love that photo. You did so great. Your killer little photo." Okay, like, and I have to be so intentional. So, we put our phones away from 5 to 8 when they're awake, and we're just with our kids every single day. And when we shoot weddings, I have multiple days off after that so that I can really recoup that time with them. And I mean, in a small way too, like I have to take better care of my body, like exercise, nutrition, so that I can have a long, healthy life with these guys and for myself too, because we deserve that.
Oh, yeah, for sure. I think, again, it goes back to this if you don't put the oxygen mask on yourself first, like you're of no help to anyone else. And so taking that time, and I'm not very good at it, to prioritize that so you can show up the best way possible, professionally, personally, as the role model you want to be in all the ways. So hosting at home, just to pivot a
Yeah.
little bit, do you host much at home? Much like, and not special occasion, but just whether it's getting sports after school, kids' parties, yourself, and whether it's girlfriends or a couple friends, what's your hosting style?
I love that. So I'm a Southern girl, born and raised, and I think I'd like to think that hospitality is just like built into my DNA. So I love to host. I love a good party. I love whether it's like a big thing like a birthday or a holiday and having it in my home because I do really enjoy cooking and I enjoy the process of planning things and putting it together. So being honest, I think any chance I get, like, again, big or small, I'm like, "Let's host." Like, if it's just us and the kids, we'll, like, light candles, and I love to have, like, pretty plates. But for me, that opportunity to bring people in and make them help them to feel warm and invited and to just, like, kinda lighten the load of life, I think that's the whole point, right? Is, like, gathering, connection, eating good food, making good memories, laughing, being real and authentic, and any chance I get. We're hosting some friends tomorrow night, and it's gonna be fun. It's gonna be really good.
Amazing. What are you guys doing?
So That's a good question. I think we're gonna grill, so I should jump on Partytrick and see if I can find, like, a little
Mhm.
grill out thing, and then fire pit and s'mores, like, 100%. So,
I
yeah.
love s'mores. I have a new good friend who has a cotton candy company. She's actually on the podcast too. And
Right.
I love how her company, and there's something about cotton candy, there's something about s'mores that brings back and sparks joy. It makes you think about childhood. And it's like it brings that element of nostalgia and it's just like yummy
Mm.
and fun. I love a good fire. I want to ask you about joy in a minute, but I have two questions about is there anything about hosting that you find particularly stressful or you don't? I mean, it sounds like you love it, which is amazing. I know that people, it's a polarizing question. Some love it, some don't. I think we all have one trigger point where you're like, oh my God, I don't like figuring out the music. I don't like figuring out like what is it that's stressful for you? I'm always curious to
So
ask.
no, that's a really great question. Because I don't mind the cleaning, right? We're all gonna clean our house a little bit. I love to, like, go get some fresh flowers and, like, set the scene, and, like, plating and things like that are really important to me. I hate it when we have people over and we're like, "Let's just use paper plates." Sometimes that's just practical, but I love to set that. The thing that really, really, really stresses me out the most is not having some sort of, like, theme or cohesion. Maybe this is the English girl in me, but I'm like, what's the theme? What are we doing? And so I really, and Pinterest is such a like hard place to find things because you could Google like or Pinterest something and you're like, there's 100 different recipes and I don't know what to pick from. So having like a recipe that goes with what I'm desiring, right? Like for barbecue, it would be great to do chicken and have s'mores. And so having this kind of like almost woodsy campfirey barbecue outdoor setting tomorrow night makes it easy for me to go, okay, something on the grill that's healthy and delicious would be perfect versus a pot roast or a chili. So the part that stresses me out the most is what am I gonna fix? What am I gonna
Yeah.
cook? Yeah.
No, I think curating all the pieces of the puzzle so that they are cohesive is so challenging. So I love that you lean into kind of figuring out what is the theme so it does and it can feel a little bit more cohesive. Being a photographer, being an artist, how important is lighting? Like, do you actually think about lighting at your events, like events at home? That one's I like sparked in the beginning. I've been curious. Like, how do you
Oh
monitor
my god.
lighting at home? Because I heard you say like you're lighting candles with the kids before. So what are
Yeah.
you doing? Yeah.
Oh my gosh. Yeah. Well, and even it's kind of a drizzly day outside here in Austin. I'm like constantly looking at you. I'm like, her lighting is so perfect. And now I feel like I'm like dark and like, well, I'm in this cave. But yeah, lighting is, it's literally everything to me. Like, okay, for instance, tomorrow night, like, I can't wait to sit outside after dinner's done and we have like maybe a glass of wine or some tea. And we have like these really cute boho string lights. We turn those on and we light the fire. And it just kind of like, calms everything and brings it together, and it's such a perfect way to bring conversation, right? Like, it's cozy, everybody's there, and then when we're eating dinner, I love the intimacy of a candle or I want the windows to be open and it just, like, flooding the room because to me, it just illuminates things or it brings people together. It's so interesting. I love that question.
I think it's something that people overlook and overthink a lot. And I know from planning and designing like crazy events, I mean, we spend more than some people spend on a whole wedding just on light.
Yeah.
Actually, like every wedding I did the last handful of years was well over the cost of the average wedding just on
Yeah.
light, which is crazy.
Yep.
But that is how important and it can set and transform. And I go back to my mom, like we ate in the dark under candlelight. I had
Oh,
candles at breakfast because that was like
yeah.
the way my and it's a little extra. And honestly, I sometimes hate when she's comes over and mom, if you're listening, sorry. She like it is so dark in here. I'm like, I can't see my food. And part of it is I actually do like seeing my food. Like it's beautiful. So it's hard not being able to see. But if it's too bright, everyone's on edge. It's like when you're producing a large scale event, you're monitoring the crowd and changing the lighting to kind of set the tone. And people don't think about that in their homes in the same way
Yep.
unless you're really attuned to it, which you are. I think I am because of that industry before, but it's like, okay, is it too bright? Is it too dark? What's the right level? And you want it to go down as the night evolves. So either you get that really cozy, you get it so dark that you want people to leave, or so dark when they're partying so hard that they feel comfortable partying the way they want to party potentially.
Totally. Totally.
Yeah, no, I think lighting is fascinating. I'm a big candle person as well. And I was speaking with another event planner she's terrified of candles. And
Really?
they've just had some bad like
Yeah.
experiences, fire related. And like in Colorado, we can have candles all over the place. We don't
Yeah.
have as many open flame laws as like California, for instance. And so that's something that in my home at events, I just finally got like beautiful bistro lights set up here. And I can't wait till like
Yeah.
this summer because I'm in a new house, entertain under like prettier lighting. I think it changes so much. So pro tip, pro hack from planner, designer, and photographer. Pay attention to your lighting. It
Yes.
changes things and it's those subtle things, but they really do impact like when you're hosting. So
Yeah.
yeah.
No, you're totally right. It really is important. And now I'm gonna be like walking around the house like we need another lamp here. I know. Oh my
Aw.
god. Windsor has the best scented candles and they last so long. So Anthropology is like my go-to for candles
Yes.
always.
Well, I have one of my all-time favorites burning just on the side of the computer because I
Right.
love some good scented, I mean, by the way, there are these candles and then we'll get back on topic, but so my sister is a floral designer and a stylist, and she used to do a lot of my weddings. And we had a wedding and an event. And so this is a level of like attention to detail when you're trying to like infuse meaning into a wedding. She had the most insanely beautiful candles poured for this wedding. They are from basically, they're all true beeswax. The whole room smelled like honey, which here's another pro tip. You don't want too many scented candles around food because it's going to compete with the flavor, right? You want to keep relatively unscented. However, in this instance, everything smelled like a natural honey flavor. And like in this instance, like it was true beeswax honey. I mean, the evening smelled divine. It actually complemented the menu that we were serving. And
Amazing.
I still have some of them and I have them in the other room and like I'll burn them. And those are the perfect to burn down a table. So
Yep.
think about the candles that you're using, scented, not scented, to make sure you're not overly competing as well. So
No, that's such a good point. Yeah,
yeah.
I love candles. I love lighting. I could talk about it all day.
I know. Me too, clearly. Okay, so when you're hosting, back to that, what
Yeah.
are some of your favorite like tips and hacks? Like, do you have a go-to party trick?
Yeah, absolutely. I don't know if this is like from my affinity with like Italy and the Mediterranean like vibe, but I even in the summertime with our kids, like I want to, I want to like spruce things up, even if we're just like hanging out and we're doing like peanut butter and jellies. So I will do a charcuterie board for anything. And I have this really long, beautiful piece of wood that someone made for me. And it is my go to. So last summer, I'd cut up like little sandwiches and throw some like crackers and fruit and veggies on and just like bring that outside. Or for hosting, that's a go to. Like, I feel like I always have like a good cheese, a good meat, a good like source of veggies and fruit on hand or nuts because it's such a cool way to like make something beautiful and intimate and fun, but also like nutritious. And so charcuterie is my go-to always.
I love a good grazing board, charcuterie board, like so up my alley as well. This is kind of random, but I was actually on Instagram last night and one of my old team members from Bluebird, she does great charcuterie boards, but she was
Right.
showing me images from her Easter. And
Nice.
I share this because it was on my mind. I'm like, oh my God, my kids would die over this. I think a charcuterie board for adults because it's great. It's like sitting there and easy. And so she did this one and she
Yeah.
said she made this Easter grazing board. She did on her grazing board, there was candy, there were carrots because
Mm.
quote unquote, duh, bunny crackers. I mean, this is like
Yes.
a perfect kid charcuterie board, a
Yeah.
fake egg. Then she had little health shots, like little ginger shots. It's like a random smattering of stuff that worked for Easter in a really funny way. Now,
Mm.
not the typical charcuterie board, obviously just a grazing board, but it's like a great way that like take Jenna's party trick. Always have one, tailor
Yeah.
it. And if you want to theme it, theme it. If you want to make it more kid appropriate, do so. I mean, I think adults, everyone appreciates it. Like everyone wants that snack.
Mhm.
They just do. And even if they like, you don't know if people ate before, if your timing's running off, if you have that available, um, people who are well fed and
Right.
have their water or drinks or whatever they have, they tend to be more relaxed. And I mean, the goal is to keep your guests relaxed, which will keep you relaxed as well.
100%. I mean, we've all been at those parties or you like networking things or whatever where you're like, starving and I'm like, I need to have like good conversation. And you're like, you can't stop thinking about how thirsty or hungry you are. And so I think food is such a perfect way to just really bring that like intimacy in. And it's a great way to pull people together. And then, of course, like your guests feel super comfortable or your family feels super comfortable. That's definitely the goal.
My daughter now knows hangry, the expression hangry.
Yep.
I think the goal is never let your guests get angry at an event.
Yeah. Yeah.
And
Absolutely.
I mean, so many of those like cocktail party networking style events where
Mhm.
they're only passed and there isn't some sort of stationed. I mean, I would always have at least one station at our large scale events because like you need to escape and go get that. And you can't ever control what gets actually past you if servers get around you. That's obviously the large scale event. I mean, I don't have people passing hors d'oeuvres at dinner parties at my house, but also it's like a way lighter lift, right? It's a great way. The lighter lift, you can do that versus individually, like, prepared hors d'oeuvres takes so much time, energy, and effort. That's actually just for education to others. That's why they're so expensive when you're catering
Yeah.
an event. There's so much labor that doing a beautiful charcuterie board, I love it. It's the go-to
Yeah.
always. So,
Yeah. I think it's a
yeah.
great hack for anyone. And my kids actually love putting those together too, like for their little neighbor friends and stuff. It's just a great way to like enjoy time together and also be well fed for sure. So important.
Indeed. Indeed,
Yeah.
indeed. I love it. Okay, so what sparks joy in your life? Like, what are the things that you're like, "Oh my goodness, this just, like, warms my heart, sparks so much joy in me?"
Hmm. Man, it just keeps going back to the nights where, like, whether it was just me and the kids, I was hanging out with friends, or we're hosting something, and it's kind of after dinner, after the, like, me kind of being on moments, and we're just sitting around and just talking and enjoying company, and I am always thinking about some kind of flame, I feel like a candle or a fire pit or camping, and it's that gathering of, like, deep, meaningful conversations and just laughing your head off. Like, I love to
Mhm.
laugh. It's such a huge stress reliever. I mean, bring the tears, bring the laughter. It's that's what sparks joy for me is connection, laughter, moments that to me, when I think back on the years with my kids and my closest friends or family or new friend, it's that I want more of 100%.
Well, I think we all need a bit more joy. I,
Yeah.
me too. I think the world can be so heavy, and I think thinking about a handful of years ago, gosh, it was probably 5, 6 years ago now, I started doing this practice with a girlfriend where every day we'd send each other 10 things we're grateful for. And I was in,
Oh.
like, a deep, like, darker period of my life, and it was one of those things, and some days it's just, I'm grateful for coffee. Well, every day I'm
Mhm.
grateful for coffee. But as I
Yeah.
sip on it, I'm grateful for fresh snow. I'm grateful for my baby's smile. I'm grateful they slept all night. Like, at this point, they were like, Elizabeth was a itty bitty. And I
Mhm.
think that the things that spark joy and recognizing them and appreciating them is so important. And I think that's one of the things that we want to do. We want to celebrate the joyful moments and those connection, but like name it and say it. And I bring up that gratitude example because I mean, it's what do you appreciate? What are you joyful? Like, what sparks joy and what are you grateful for? And like every day having a small little moment to like pause and be aware of it just exacerbates in a positive way that feeling. And
Yeah.
I think, again, in a world where there's like constant heavy sadness, news, and so much being pushed at us, taking a moment to like relish the positive is like the most important thing. So,
Yeah.
yeah,
No, right.
amazing.
I love that. I love the, like, idea of going back and forth with someone you care about and, like, really pausing and thinking about what you're grateful for, what good happened out of your day. That's good. I love it.
It's a fun way to stay in touch as well with someone. She lives in London. So
Nice.
became best friends when we were high school, basically. And it's an amazing way to connect over something positive.
Mhm.
And in the spirit of transparency, because I'm overly transparent, it started turning negative and it became a little bit of like, I'm grateful for something bad not happening. And it was like this weird
Right.
pivot. It was almost like a humble brag gratitude thing, which wasn't
Right.
good. Not a humble
Yeah.
brag, like a brag, but I guess like I'm not articulating that very well. We both called each other out. We're like, this isn't the point of this. The point is actually to find, even if it doesn't seem significant. Like I'm grateful
Mhm.
I got a hot shower.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
we take those things for granted, and it caused us to have a really great point of connection. And again, this is all about connection and community. And
Yeah.
if you can't do this in person, like if you're far away, you can find ways to replicate and spark joy and find that community outside of just staying in touch on social or just staying in touch. So those little like moments of joy practice or gratitude practice are always fun ones for me. So
Yeah. I love that. One thing I do every morning is, and it's not easy, like getting up way before dawn and just like writing out like what I'm grateful for, because I have to set the tone. I'm someone who struggles with anxiety. And if I don't like wake up and kind of put those things aside, I will walk through my day with like negative reels playing in my head.
oh
But
yeah.
just being intentional and saying, I'm grateful that I slept good last night, or I have to sleep with you, or my kids get to go to good school. Like, those are little things that as the day goes on and life hits, I'm like, okay, remember that. Remember that space you started the day with. So, yeah, you're totally right.
I love it. I love it. Okay, so you have friends coming over tomorrow night. Are you
Yeah.
going to, and this is random, but for your s'mores, do you go traditional or do you add anything? Do you do like s'mores bar?
Oh, that's a really good idea. So, because our kids have been so young for so long, I always like, we would kind of hand it to them. But I think a s'mores bar would be really fun. And I'm gluten free, and one of the kiddos is gluten free. So, like, finding a way to kind of still create, you can use like two marshmallows instead of like the crackers is great. Um, and I think it's okay. So, it's the dark chocolate cups. You know what I'm talking about? With,
Yep.
is it Churros? Oh my god, Justin's. I think it's something like
Those
that.
be,
They're
yeah,
all
yeah.
yeah. Those are like divine, and those are for the adults. So we'll
Yeah.
like have like the good stuff for like us, and then like some gluten free and things. But I like the idea of a s'mores bar just to add like a little touch of fun. And as parents too, like things can get monotonous, right? So I've made s'mores for my kids a couple hundred times by now. So instead of just like, okay, let's do this more thing and be patient, like I think creating something that's like, hey guys, like let's be patient, take our turn, like let's create it right here and then go to the fire, or you get to select your ingredients. It builds patience in them. It kind of alleviates the stress and monotony to me, but it also makes it really fun for everyone. So I think I'll
I
do a
think
s'mores
that's,
bar.
I love that. I love it. We last year, and we do Sundays.
Ooh, what's
So,
that?
oh, my kids have named like every day of the week. So Taco Tuesday, Watermelon
Yeah.
Wednesday, Sunday Sundays. So ice cream Sundays, which like
Yeah.
I don't keep ice cream in the house because I eat it.
Yeah.
But they still beg every Sunday. And so the like having that consistency, but then diversity within that is such a fun way to spark celebration in the everyday. But last year we were on spring break and the place we were staying in Mexico had a s'mores bar every night. And my kids go to that early, but we would go down and it's one of the things that they remember most. And they would choose, is it regular flavored marshmallow or was it a strawberry flavored marshmallow, milk or dark or white chocolate? And it wasn't that many options. And I mean, a lot to do at home on an everyday basis, but so impactful because it was a
Yeah.
little bit different. So if you have a thing that you're doing as a routine, whether it's building the patience or whether it is, mixing it up and instead of this week, we're doing it this way, doing it that way, the theme is the same, but a little bit of diversity, like, will create a bigger imprint sometimes I find.
Yeah.
It allows for flexibility as well when you can't find when you can't find the chocolate that you really want. So,
That's so true. Oh my gosh.
yeah.
Well, yeah. I mean, I think there's a huge part of life it's just like daily monotony. Get up, take the kids to school, do the work, do the exercise, all of that. And yet, like, if we can take our computer to a coffee shop and work, that's something that can spark joy, change an environment. If we set up like options for our kids, maybe Taco Tuesdays with beans and rice, or you can have chicken, or you could have beef. Like, you have some option instead of it being like, nope, this is dinner, have some of it or don't.
Good luck, have fun.
Like, have
Yeah.
fun. Exactly. Yeah, for sure.
Well, I love celebrating the everyday, and I'm so lucky I've been able to have Jenna in my life, personally and professionally, to capture it, to celebrate it with. I love following you and watching what you're up to because, again, I think we need more beauty, and photographers capture such beauty. So, tell us, where can people find you, and what's best to stay in touch and follow along your journey?
Oh, yeah, that's awesome. So thank you, Virginia. That's super sweet. I feel like I'm constantly inspired by the things you're putting out there, especially as a mom working hard with your two littles. So
Thank you.
I am on Instagram at Jenna Wren Photography. That's a very easy way to stay in touch, or hello at jennawrenphotography.com. And I'm a big DM person. Like, I just think it's great to like send a voice DM if you have questions or you just want to chat. Like, I love being able to like hear a voice and also make sure it's not a bot, right? Because we're all going to somebody's weird bots. Who knows? Who knows? So yeah, definitely let's chat if you have questions, especially about celebrating those little things, because I love
Yeah,
to do for
I
sure.
love it. Well, Jenna, thank you so much. I'm so glad we got to chat. Guys, go check her out. DM, even just look because the inspiration from what Jenna is capturing is amazing and has inspired me with some of my day to day. And again, I would rather be fed beautiful things in my feed than some of the scary. I mean, we want a dose of reality, obviously, but the beauty's amazing and she's been such an inspiration. So have an amazing weekend. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Virginia. Have a good one.
Thanks.